Hello, everyone. Hello. Sharice Johnson Moore here. And today we are here for Author's Excerpt Sunday. And our special guest is Mr. Jason Pike, Lieutenant Colonel Jason Pike. Hello, Mr. Jason. How are you doing today, honey?
I'm doing good. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited. Yeah.
All right. Jason Pike is the author of a book entitled A Soldier Against All Odds. And it is a story about his life, his journey from childhood up until the age of now. And he has served in the military. He is a man of honor, a man of strength, a man that is a humorous person because we've had conversations where he doesn't even know it that he's made my day. When we've had conversations, and he inspires others. He motivates them with his stories. He motivates them through his book entitled "A Soldier Against All Odds." And we want to welcome Mr. Jason Pike. Hello, Mr. Jason. How are you doing today?
Doing really good. Again, just thank you for everybody who's supported me on this effort. It's been a difficult road for me, and I want to tell my story in a way that maybe you've never been in the military, or maybe you're not from South Carolina. And I know I talk with some language that's a little different, but I'm just trying to get my story out there, is all I'm doing.
Okay, where are you originally from, Mr. Pike?
I'm from an area near Fingerville, South Carolina. That's actually a town. Yeah,
Okay.
Fingerville. Yeah,
Okay.
and so, but I grew up in the country, and that's kind of where I started as far as the military and joining and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So what motivated you to write this book?
Well, everyone kept saying to me that I have a story. I mean, family, friends that knew me, they said, "Damn, Jake, I can't believe you've done this. I've done that." And I said, "Well, it was nagging at me for a long time, and
Mhm.
I finally went ahead and did it. In other words, collect these stories, and hire someone to put this thing together,
Mhm.
which was a very difficult task for me. This book is probably the top hardest I've ever done. So yeah,
Oh,
hardest thing I've ever done. So, yeah.
okay. So, in your book, you talk about the brutal honesty tale of a soldier's unorthodox life, road career, and an often maverick character not easily aligned with the military code. So let's deep dive into that, right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
okay.
that's definitely true. Especially when you look at this life, or you look at this soldier, that life. I wanted it to be brutally honest because my ghostwriter says that's the way to go, and to personalize it, which is 99.5% true. But I wanted to show I was identified at the age of 7 as a disabled learner, meaning there's things I just don't get
Mhm.
even now. So what happens is I had to work myself around it differently,
Mhm.
and I had to come up with strategies to compensate, and therefore a rogue and a character came out. I
Mhm.
did not have a mentor. I just went by, like I'm doing now, the seat of my pants, and I forged life in the military by being me. Yeah, you
Mhm.
could say Pike paid the price for his service, but
Mhm.
Pike paid the price for being Pike. So that's what the whole thing's about, really, and
Yeah.
the ups and the downs. Yeah.
Okay. So how does your childhood play a role in you writing this book?
Well, I grew up around great storytellers. My dad was a great storyteller. This was before this was before the internet, and people would sit around and tell stories. And there was a character also named Fred Pike, who was a famous storyteller. And I grew up with this at a young age. hearing
Mm-hmm.
stories. And I thought to myself, my
Mm-hmm.
story ain't nothing compared to these guys' stories. I would
Mm-hmm.
compare myself when I was writing this, and I still do. But
Mm-hmm.
this is my story, and I thought that, well, I gotta have to get over that. I was comparing, and so that's my childhood was filled with stories and these characters, and then
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wow, I was a character myself. I kind of grew up in their shoes a little bit because I sort of honored them, and I thought that they were doing wonderful things. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah.
Okay, all right. So, in your story, you talk about um, give us one of your stories that you've
Well,
experienced. Well, I'll say a life experience.
mhm.
Okay, give us one of those.
what's One of the famous stories that I have is as a lieutenant in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
I accident. A lot of people have that term, you fall into shit or you're up shit creek.
Uh-huh.
Well, I have literally done that. No, I mean, literally neck
Uh-huh.
deep in shit. So I went in, I was land nabbing at night alone,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find these points. It was an exercise, and
Mm-hmm.
it was in South Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for a point, and I slipped into down the side of an embankment.
Mm-hmm.
I went into shit, and I was neck deep. I almost drowned as a first lieutenant in my late 20s. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
this is it took me a while to even, and I was going to drown. It was taking me down.
Mm-hmm.
Climbed out of the shit, and then
Mm-hmm.
I was very relieved that I
Yeah.
got out of it. I
Mm-hmm.
escaped death of that, and I found a way. I didn't want anybody to think that there's pooping Pike. I didn't want that nickname to occur, and so
Uh-huh.
I wanted to somehow save my face. And
Yes.
so I said, "Well, I need to get out of this situation of poop. I've
Mm-hmm.
got poop all over me." I found a farmer's house out there in the country. I
Mm-hmm.
saw I saw the light. I
Yeah.
saw the light, and I said, "Maybe I can get help," which I need help all the time. So I said, "Well, I can go get help." And I don't know what I'm doing. When I saw that light, I didn't know if I was walking towards heaven or hell. I was just
Mm-hmm.
going towards the light. I went over there, knocked on the door. 안녕하세요. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, we just did this hand signaling and a little bit of Korean. And
Mm-hmm.
she told me to strip naked,
Mm-hmm.
motioning. And I stripped naked and gave my stuff to a total stranger.
Yeah.
And I walked back to camp naked, and she cleaned it up and gave it back to me the next morning. But
Mm-hmm.
that is literally that was a there was a few people that knew about it, but they kept they didn't say anything. They didn't call me pooping Pike because they thought my recovery from that situation was excellent, and it
Yeah.
was. And but that's kind of the story of a lot of things in my life. I'll get to
Yeah.
something, and I'll have to find my way out of it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah. So what made you go in the military? What made
well.
you want to go that route?
We're going to go back to high school, okay? And we're going to go back
Mm-hmm.
to. I grew up in a very patriotic, environment where the military is an option for folks
Yes.
that may not have a great education, may not be, maybe like me, and they don't have a lot of the skill sets to go to college. And I thought that was.
Uh-huh.
My dad says, you might want to check out the military sometime. And I said, all right, because I was I was not college bound. I was not college material. I still ain't, okay. But I
Mm-hmm.
said, well, I might go to the military, and I said, well, that's an option. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
it was an easy paycheck. 1 week in a month, I was National Guard soldier, which is the lowest. Well, it is. It's they used to call us nasty girls, NG, and so NG National Guard no goes. But I just went from the bottom as a private, and I
Yeah.
just kept going forward and doing things. So yeah, that was an option, and I never knew at
Mm-hmm.
all I would make 31 years. I never knew that I would make a career out of it. I was just going, and it was a choice, and I guess it was a good one. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you came home, or have you retired? Have you retired from the military?
I retired. I did 31 years. I retired in the year 2014 when I got out of Germany. I was totally burned out with all the things that I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got involved with veterans events, and
Mm-hmm.
then I worked for a little bit with the Centers for Disease Control, and then
Mm-hmm.
I started writing this book, and that's this book is this has been a very special thing for me personally,
Yes.
and so yes, that's kind of been the kind of the flow after the retirement.
Okay.
I had I have retired from the military.
Okay. So how's retirement treating you? Right?
So far, so good. I love that paycheck. I mean, they give me a paycheck once a month. Well, I get two paychecks. I get one from the VA because I'm a veterans administrator. I'm in the veterans system, and then I get one from the military. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, um,
Okay.
so yeah, that's the deal. As to yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, so it's doing pretty good. Yeah, it's doing really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have um after leaving the military, did you have um I'll say any health issues that you had to deal with?
I had post traumatic stress syndrome. I still have it. And I
Hmm.
went through therapy with that. I had a traumatic brain injury in the military.
Hmm.
Um, so, yes, I've had a few knocks, and a lot of them are small knocks. The the post traumatic stress syndrome, is the worst. There's no doubt about
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
I learned a lot in therapy on how to manage it, and that's what you do. You pretty much manage it, and
Yeah.
that was those are the main ones: is the TB, the traumatic brain injury, and the
Hmm.
post traumatic stress. Well, stress. I mean, it's growth that you learn from it, and yeah, those are some of the major medical issues I have. I still work out and go to the gym, and I get around fine. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, all right then. Don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt nobody. So my thing is how long did it take you to complete this manuscript?
Woo. Okay. Technically, about 2.5 years. It was about 2.5 years. I
Hmm.
I had a lot of these stories already sort of developed, and
Hmm.
I went ahead and I got them, and I got them to a ghost writer.
Hmm.
And Peter is his name, and I got it out there,
Hmm.
and we worked on this thing. We worked really hard on this, and back and forth. Peter went and met the family. He went to South Carolina. He went to Georgia to try to
Hmm.
get a handle of the culture and
Yeah.
how I grew up and this.
Uh-huh.
And then so yeah, it was yeah. That's 2.5 years. Feels like it maybe 10 years, but again, it's not perfect, but I'm happy with it, and we can make it better, and we can do something else as a second edition, no doubt, or some other edition.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. Okay. Do you plan on writing any more books?
I don't know. At this point, I'm just doing the getting the story out there.
Hmm.
I would like to write another book, maybe a second edition to this that's new and
Hmm.
improved. I could write about there's a lot of themes of just survival,
Yeah.
persistence,
Hmm.
inspiration, and hope. No matter if you're in your, going through a problem in your life, you
Hmm.
look at this book or my audio. I have an audio as well, and
Okay.
you can get the feel of it as well, just like you're doing now. And there are so many stories that goes from arrests, ass chewings. It goes to federal investigations. It goes into war. It goes into things that are considered other operations. It
Uh-huh.
goes jumping out of airplanes, uh, things of that nature, and helicopters. There's. It's not necessarily a blood and guts
Mm.
memoir,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
even though I have seen that.
Yeah.
I am focused on those other
The positive.
inspirational, yeah,
Yeah. The
positive things,
positive. Yeah.
humorous things,
Yeah.
things that will maybe inspire the readers or the listeners to possibly just keep moving forward, like I did with all of these stories.
Hmm.
So many of them. Uh,
Yeah.
it just even today, I look at it and it blows me away to see it.
Okay.
Even though I've been working on it, and I'll see it. First time when the first time it was in January, after the holidays in January, I got my first book, and I held it in my hands,
Mm-hmm.
and I literally was shaking.
Yeah.
I was shaking because
Yeah.
sometimes during this process of looking at all these stories,
Yeah.
my feeling was I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
I was angry, I was laughing. Sometimes I was scared to look at the manuscript
Mm-hmm.
because of the big emotions that would come out in me.
Yeah.
That's why a writer. Well, I'm a writer, I guess, right? So, but that's why you need help. I need help anyway.
Yes.
But there was a whole lot of emotions for me. I would wake up and say, okay, well, I'm going to work on my book, and I
Mm-hmm.
would literally be scared of the computer, of the manuscript, and I have to back away as if it was a monster or something. That's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how the process went. It was a very wild process. Just that process of writing the book. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, are you ready to kind of read a little excerpt out of the book?
Let's
Just
see here. Let's see
just
here.
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Ad lib it.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, the thing is one of the let's see here. One story. Well, I have a lot of acknowledgments to a lot of people that have believed in me and they've helped me along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Made a few enemies, but one guy's his name is Dr. Evans, and he wrote down that I'm going to read it.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed, but not surprised when Jason informed me about the upcoming memoir.
Mm-hmm.
This book is a compelling account of his personal, persistence, my
Mm-hmm.
tenacity,
Mm-hmm.
and the resolve that I had facing adversity. It weaves Jason's journey with a fast-paced, survival, the secrets of how I survived, how I
Mm-hmm.
went through all these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's collectively this book paints the picture of a man who is both proactive. I would look forward a lot. That was
Yes.
but then again, I would look back and
Yeah.
try to learn
Mm-hmm.
what I did right and what I did wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
I just pushed through a lot of these tough times and
Mm-hmm.
using my own creativity. But I also have always wanted to help others. And
Mm-hmm.
now, so yeah, so that was Dr. Evans. He was one of my supervisors. He knew some very serious things that were in. I mean, I nearly got kicked out of the army.
Mm-hmm.
One, two, maybe three different occasions. I skated on thin ice a lot, but at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
I was collecting all these schools, all these awards. I mean,
Yeah.
so it was I was having lots of little problems along the way, and I was
Yeah.
getting out of them. But
Mm-hmm.
I've got over 30 awards and badges and lot of
Mm-hmm.
commendations. And
Okay.
so it goes, but I kind of focus with this book for the most part on the fiascos. I call them fiascos,
Uh-huh.
and the failures as well. And so to try to paint a personal picture of my life of 31
Yes.
years. So.
Yes. Yes. Okay, Jason. Well, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you here on Authors Excerpt Sunday. So tell our viewers where we can find your book.
So you can go to Amazon, is going to be the major publisher. It's
Mm-hmm.
on Amazon. It's also on Goodreads is a website, and
Mm-hmm.
some sites you can just put down in your computer
Yeah.
a soldier against all odds, and you can find it. Um, all the proceeds are going to be donated back to veterans groups. That's something that the people should know.
That's
So,
wonderful.
yeah, I mean, really, I have, I am. This is not a story of I'm complaining about the military. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm just trying,
Uh-huh.
and so I'm going to give back, and so that's where you can find it. And but yeah, that's I'm gonna
Okay.
wanted to yeah.
Yeah,
The
we can.
you
Yeah,
can
we can also.
mhm.
Yeah, we can also find it on Jason's website. It is It is www.jasonpike.org. Am I correct?
That's right. jasonpike.org. You can find it there.
Yes.
And the audio, it's on Audible. And
All right now.
I think the audio, you're going to feel it more because
Mhm.
I've read the book. So
Yeah.
the audio process was a very wild process for me because I had to read it in a
Mhm.
way that reflected my heart.
Mhm.
That was difficult because I'm in the military, we're strong, and we
Mhm.
don't show emotions. So I
Mhm.
had to go through many, many retakes along the way, more
Yeah.
numerous than you can ever imagine. I worked
Okay.
very hard at that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
Jason, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you here on Author's Excerpt Sunday. And you let us know how that's going with the donations of your book and how the sales are going. And, let us know when you write that next book, okay?
I sure
You-
will. Yeah, I sure will. If there's anybody wanting to ask any questions, I'm willing to answer them in any way they want to. And if anything comes through the chat, I don't know. You probably got a handle on that more than
Yeah,
me.
I do. Haven't we do not have any questions at this time,
Okay, gotcha.
but they know how to contact you. They know how to reach you,
Hmm.
and they, if you ever, you want to, help Jason, with his book, you can go to his website, which is www.jasonpike.org, and you can help him with his he's giving his proceeds back to the veterans, that the Veterans Administration. Am I have that correct?
Yeah, so there's a number of nonprofit organizations that I'm involved with.
Hmm.
Disabled American veterans. There's just a whole lot of them. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's going to go back. And personally, that's nothing new because I've been doing it anyway. I'm going to be doing it anyway, whether I have a book or not. Probably the biggest thing for me to help me is to go on the website and write a review. It doesn't have to be. It just go to customer review and
Uh-huh.
say one or two sentences, or you can say an entire paragraph. You can say
Okay.
anything you want, really. As long as I need a 5-star, and I need a review, and and I don't even know they're asking. I, I I don't. That's just what they do these days, I guess. So,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
that's
You
that. Was,
We have a gentleman in the audience. His name is Jeff Pike. He
okay.
says it is a fantastic book. I just finished reading it. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I know Jeff Pike.
yes.
Yeah, we grew up in Georgia together. Ran around
Okay.
as kids. We've got a whole lot of stories on
Mhm.
Jeff Pike. Yeah, and so I just got through talking to him today, and he was completely amazed at it. He highly recommends it for anyone, inspirational and things.
Yes.
He's my
Yeah.
cousin. He's in Georgia, and
Okay.
he's also an entertainer, and so
Okay.
he sings really good songs, and so I've seen him a few times in concert. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Jeff Pike also says it is highly recommended. Highly
Yes.
recommended reading. Thank you, Mr. Jeff Pike. Thank you so much for being in our audience. He is joining us from our YouTube live broadcast, and we thank you so much for coming in, Mr. Jeff Pike. We thank you so much for coming in. I want to say, he says, I have known Jason since we were boys, and I was floored by the life Jason has led. He says, and he also says to tell you thank you.
Right. Yes.
Thank
So Jeff Pike. There's a character in this book named Fred Pike. That's his father. Oh, by
you.
the way,
Okay.
his father passed away, and they've invited me to speak at his father's celebration of life, which will be
Okay.
It'll be at the American Legion in Alpharetta, Georgia. But yeah, Fred Pike is a character of his own that is a truly amazing character. And a lot of people say, well, to me, he was a great storyteller. Fred Pike was. That's Jeff's father that passed away.
Okay.
A lot of
Okay.
people think he was just a great bullshit artist. Maybe he could have been both, but
Okay.
that's how I used to record tapes as a young age, and
Okay.
because I wanted to play with Jeff and Pat,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I had a problem. I didn't know how to do two things at the same time, so I thought, well, I want to see all these stories, but I also want to play with Jeff and Pat. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to solve that problem. So what I did was I got a tape recorder and I made a bunch of tapes, which they've been lost over the years. But
Yes.
I would listen to those tapes, and that probably affected me growing up. Those tapes and listen to all that stories, because I would take those tapes back home, and then I would just listen to them. And then even as an adult, I used to get around those characters, those old guys that have all these crazy stories. And I didn't understand school instruction very well, but I understood the stories, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I got that from. Yeah.
Okay. His story is fantastic story of perseverance, of how you can overcome any obstacle you put your mind to. Mr. Pike, thank you so much, Mr. Jeff
Yeah.
Pike again.
I was going to add something on to that, which that triggers me. That's why I like these questions, because they kind of keep my mind going. If I had a problem, which we all have problems in life, I would go about it a lot differently. I would say, how do I do this? I took a lot of time to dwell, or to some people just say Jason goes on his own and walks around with his posture. I'm thinking about how to do something, and it takes me a lot longer than most. And I have to do it in my own way. And usually, if you could just leave me alone with a problem long enough, usually can find an answer to it. It might not be by the way the rules are made, right? But I could solve it going in another route. So that's a lot. That's yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff says, explain the 5 P's.
Yeah. So the 5 P's. A lot of the soldiers and people would say, Pike's doing the 5 P's, meaning prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Okay.
I would prepare in advance more. Just like with this interview, I just thought about it, and I said, this is how I might want to prepare, or I'll look at something down the road, and then have a vision, and then I would plan for it and work for it. And it could be going to a class, trying to get a good grade. It could be how am I? Maybe a girl broke up with you, and you go back with that girl or something. How do you strategize that? How do you get through something? And it was the 5 P's: is prior planning prevents piss poor performance, or 5 to 6 P's. And so I was really good at visioning how I was going to get something. When I went into that shit, it was more of a reaction. I mean, I didn't know I was falling into shit. That was more of a reactionary thing. But college education, you want to go here and do this, you want this thing to happen in your life, I would prepare for it. And I was pretty good at visionary, or calendar, or looking out pretty well. My mother, now I had a challenging relationship with my mother, but one of the things I picked up from her that helped me to compensate was a calendar. And she would use that. I would joke about the calendar because she had all little things in there. And but then I started to say, well, I can use that as a method. And then I know that this is going to happen here. That means I need to do this as a backplane. I became pretty good with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know that you say you do a lot of volunteer work with our veterans. How has that helped you in your life with helping your groups that you're involved in?
So with veterans issues, I'm pretty well rounded. There's a lot of places I am not well rounded in, but I'm pretty
Mhm.
well rounded in that because I've lived their life. I know their
Mhm.
stories. I've probably
Mhm.
been and done things where they've been. Really, there's not much that surprises me with the veterans group.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I was really good at, like, helpful. You're talking about, I'm really good. I was really good as a commander of troops or a leader of troops because
Mhm.
I could I could take care of them. They took care of me. And
Mhm.
so, and I needed a whole lot of taking care of. And so
Okay.
they would respond to me very, very, very good.
Mhm.
And so I needed help. And so
Yeah.
the commanding and leading troops to me was just second
Mhm.
nature. It was nothing. My father was my role model for leading
Yes.
and managing. And then
Mhm.
I said, well, I can do that too. And I became an officer, which is a leader of
Okay.
troops. Now,
Okay.
don't tell me to change the tire of your car because I'm probably going to mess it up. Matter of fact, I did. I blew up my mom's car. I was trying to do a jump start one time, and I blew the damn engine out. And
Oh my goodness.
that is not in the book, but some people, I'm not a handyman. I'm more of a handicap man. So, but I learned strategies of how to get around these things and ask
Mhm.
for help, and then maybe take care of other people that would take care of you. And I have a lot of I have a lot of people, sergeants and NCOs and soldiers and other folks that have helped me to get to where I was going in life. And so, yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, Mr. Pike, it has been our honor. It has been a privilege to have you here on Author's Excerpt Sunday. And we wish you all the best with your book. Okay. So we can find his book on Amazon, Goodreads, Barnes and Nobles. And he also has it's in paperback and in audio form. Title
Audio.
of his book is Against All a Soldier Against All Odds. Okay, I love you. Thank you, Mr. Pike, and you
I'll
have a
take care.
blessed evening. All
Okay.
right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye. All right, everyone. That has been our interview with Mr. Pike. I wanted to say it is an honor and a privilege to have him here with us today. Thank you so much, Mr. Pike, for being our guest on Authors Extra Sunday. I wanted to also let the authors know that if you want to be a guest on here, you contact me through my email address. I am Sharice at ShariceNJohnsonMoore.com, and I will be glad to have you on the show. It is an honor and a privilege to have you here. And I want to say, don't stop writing. If you think about writing a book, get busy. Get busy. Do it now. Don't keep putting it off. Don't procrastinate. Don't find excuses to do something that God has laid on your heart. And I wanted to say, I thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your time with us on Authors Excerpt Sunday. We will see you back here next Sunday at 6 o'clock. All right. Love you. Have a blessed evening. Bye, babies.